the healing of the sick slave girl. Now here's a tale for you to contemplate. It tells the truth about our present state. There was a king, most glorious and refined, with spiritual and temporal power combined. Once he was riding on his favorite steed, out hunting with his friends, whom he would lead. When he beheld a slave girl near the fray, his soul became her servant straightway. His old heart fluttered like a caged young bird. He met the asking price without a word, but just when he had signed and sealed this trade, by fate and illness overcame the maid, like buying saddles for your mule one day, to find that wolves have chased it far away. The king brought healers from all distant lands. Our lives are both now in your expert hands. My life is over till she's well again, for she's my medicine, distinguished men. Light of my life, whoever makes her well, more treasure wins than he could ever sell. As one they said, our lives we'll sacrifice, we will confer and seek from all advice. We're the messiahs for the world's distress, a salve for every wound we each possess. They skipped, if God wills, through their arrogance. So God revealed through them man's impotence. I mean omission from inside one's heart. Not just the utterance, that's the lesser part. Many have failed to say, if God should will, although their souls were in accordance still. The more these men produced a salve or cure, the more distress the girl seemed to endure. That girl became much thinner than a hair. The king wept tears of blood in his despair. The drugs they gave her made her feel more ill, and almond oil just made her drier still. Fruit made her constipation even worse. Water increased the flames, as if a curse. After he watched them fail each single day, the king ran barefoot to the mosque to pray, confessing at the prayer niche all his fears. He drenched the rug beneath him with his tears. When from annihilation's trance he woke, with prayers the Lord he started to invoke. Oh, you whose smallest gift is the whole world, words can't describe this mystery you've unfurled. Our refuge when we find ourselves in need. Once more we've strayed by failing to take heed. You did say, though I know your secrets well, it doesn't mean I don't want you to tell. When from his inmost depths he raised a scream, the sea of bounty surged and sent a dream. In tears the king was overcome with sleep. An old man then appeared whose voice was deep. Greetings, your wish is granted, humble king. Tomorrow to your aid our man will bring. Trust him as one who's mastered how to cure. Accept his word, for he's sincere and pure. Witness amazing magic and applaud. See in his temperament the might of God. The next day came. The promised meeting neared. The sun shone bright. The stars had disappeared. The king gazed from the watchtower eagerly to see what had been promised secretly. Beyond the crowd he saw a virtuous one. Among the shadows he was like a sun. Just like a crescent moon he came to view, a non-existent image seen by you, in form existing only in one's mind. The world is turned by forces of this kind. Their war and peace are based on fantasy, and shame and pride are both illusory, while images that saints may often love are visions of the moon-faced ones above, the image which while dreaming he'd just seen. The king saw in him just as it had been, and so, instead of chamberlains he went, himself to greet this guest who had been sent. Both swimmers used to seas of union, their souls without a thread were sewn as one. The one I love is not that maid but you. One thing led to another, as they do. You're Mustafa and I'm Omar, your friend, prepared to serve you till the bitter end. The king embraced his guest and wouldn't part. He welcomed him like love inside his heart, kissing his hand and forehead fervently. He asked about his home and family, then led him to his dais with this thought: the greatest treasure patience here has brought, the light of God, defense against all harm. showed patience is the key to joy and calm. The answer to our needs is meeting you. All faults you fix before we ask you to. Translating what we keep inside our souls, stretching your hand to lift those trapped in holes. O chosen one with whom God's pleased, don't leave, for then you'd make us suffocate and grieve. Since you're our master, he who shows disdain will be destroyed if he does not refrain. They served the feast. The king then took his hand and led him to the harem as was planned. Recounting all the sick girl had been through, he sat him down so he could witness too. Her pulse and pale complexion first he checked, discovering the cause through its effect. The drugs that they'd prescribed were like a curse, sapping her strength and making her feel worse. They'd failed to see the ailment deep within. God save us from what they are dabbling in. He saw her pain, her secret was revealed, but from the king he kept it all concealed. Her pain was not from bile, the doctor learned. The scent of wood is from its smoke discerned. Her grief revealed that it was from her heart. Physically fine, her heart was torn apart. Being a lover means your heart must ache. No sickness hurts as much as when hearts break. The lover's ailment's totally unique. Love is the astrolabe of all we seek. Whether you feel divine or earthly love, ultimately, we're destined for above. To capture love, whatever words I say, make me ashamed when love arrives my way, while explanation sometimes makes things clear. True love through silence only one can hear. The pen would smoothly write the things it knew. But when it came to love, it split in two. A donkey stuck in mud is logic's fate. Love's nature only love can demonstrate. Sunshine reveals its nature in each ray, so if it's proof you want, just look this way. Shadows can indicate what's shining bright. But it's the sun which fills your soul with light. Shadows like late night chat make people doze. The moon was split when that divine sun rose. Eternal sun, there's nothing quite so strange. The soul's sun has no past, it doesn't change. There's only one sun there before your eyes, but similar suns you still can visualize. When news about my Shams Din first came, the heaven's highest sun withdrew through shame. I'm now compelled through uttering Shams's name to tell you of his gifts and spread his fame. Shams Din has flung me by my skirt, so I can breathe in scent from Joseph's shirt. He asked me, lifelong friend, please share with me from your rich stock a single ecstasy, to raise a smile from both the land and sky, to make each person's soul expand and fly. He said, I'm hungry and must now be fed. Time is a cutting sword, the prophet said. The Sufi is the present moment's sun. Talk of tomorrow, Sufis learn to shun. Are you not then a Sufi as I thought? Delaying payment turns your wealth to naught. The loved one's secret's best kept veiled, I said. Listen to it in ecstasy instead. The lover's secret that's been kept concealed is best through tales of other loves revealed. Tell it unveiled and naked, candidly. You tricky man, don't try distracting me. I said, if the beloved strips for you, you'll be effaced, your waist and body too. Please don't request what you can't tolerate. A blade of straw can't hold a mountain's weight. And if the sun which gives us light should near, all things would burn and leave no traces here. Don't try to make more strife for everyone. Ask nothing more about Tabriz's son. The tale is incomplete. Begin anew, narrate the rest, as only you can do. The doctor said, vacate your house today. Even your family must be sent away, so no one's listening from the corridors, while I interrogate the girl indoors. The house was emptied. No one else remained. Alone, now with the girl who looked so pained, he gently asked, from which town did you come? The cure depends on where the patient's from. Which relatives do you have living there? Whose family? Whose friendship do you share? Feeling her pulse, he went through one by one. Questions about the course the stars must run. When someone stumbles barefoot on a thorn, he stops and checks what he has trod upon, to use a needle to dislodge its head, or failing that, by moistening it instead. If in your foot it proves so hard to find, imagine one that's pierced your heart and mind. If such thorns could be traced by any fool, how then could sorrow ever hope to rule? He presses first all over as a test, through sharing stories with the poor sick maid. He asked about her friends and where she'd stayed, and she divulged to him the history of all her past friends and her family, while listening to what the girl would share. He monitored her pulse with utmost care. Whoever's name would raise her pulse would be the one for whom she suffered constantly. Once she had named her friends from home, he'd then, about another town, inquire again. After you left your home, where did you go? Where did you stay the longest? Let me know. She mentioned further places by their name. Her pulse and her complexion stayed the same. She listed every detail of each town, from local bread to features of renown. Of town by town and home by home she'd speak. Without a quiver in her veins or cheek, her pulse felt stable to his knowing hand, until he asked the girl of Samarkand. Her pulse increased to rates beyond compare. She'd been kept from a certain goldsmith there. Once the physician solved this mystery, he found the source of her deep agony. So where precisely is this man's abode? It's near the bridge, on the Ghattafar road. I recognize your illness. Count on me. My magic will provide the remedy. Be joyful, maiden, carefree and secure. As rain revives the grass, I'll find the cure. I'll take your suffering on, so grieve no more. I'm kind like fathers who their girls adore. Make sure to keep this secret safe with you. I mean, in case the king should ask you too. For if a soul entombs its secret love, fulfillment comes more quickly from above. The prophet said, whoever hides his dream attains it sooner through the Lord Supreme. When seeds are hidden deep beneath the ground, their secret turns to verdure all around. Silver and gold are hidden in the mine, to nurture them and purify their shine. The doctor's soothing words and promises relieved the girl of countless illnesses. Then he stood up and headed for the king, to share a bit of what was happening. What you must do is summon here that man, to cure her pain. This is the wisest plan. Summon the goldsmith from that distant town, with gold and robes of honor. Bring him down. After this speech the king chose to obey each word that he had heard the healer say. The king then sent 2 men to Samarkand, both shrewd, experienced men at his command. As soon as they arrived there, they began to read this message to the wanted man. O gentle master, pure intelligence, talk everywhere is of your eminence. Our king requests you for your peerless skill. This vacancy no other man can fill. Accept this robe of honor and this gold. When you arrive, a special rank you'll hold. On seeing robes and wealth he was beguiled. He left his townsfolk, even his own child. He set off on the journey, feeling thrilled. Without a clue the king would have him killed. He proudly mounted an Arabian stud, not knowing that the price was his own blood. Conceited fool, you failed to comprehend, so eagerly you raced to your own end. He dreamt of majesty that wouldn't cease. As Azrael said, come and grab your piece. He was escorted, after entering, up to the royal throne to meet the king. The escorts treated him with special care. They knew his love of pomp. It was a snare. The king embraced him like a friend of old, entrusting to him all his stores of gold. The doctor urged, There's more you can award. Why don't you give the girl as a reward? Through union with this man she could be nursed. Love's waters might revive her, quench her thirst. The maiden then received a wedding band. They joined the couple just as they had planned. The first 6 months together, how they thrived. The servant girl soon totally revived. But then the groom was poisoned in a plot. She saw the doctor's potion make him rot. Through sickness he lost all his youthfulness. Each day his looks got worse. Her love grew less. He soon became so ugly, pale, and old, that she could feel her heart becoming cold. Love, which is based on just a pretty face, is not true love. It ends in sheer disgrace. Would that he'd been all over so debased, and therefore spared the judgment he has faced. Instead of tears, his eyes gushed blood in streams. His face became his enemy, it seems. Feathers became the peacock's bitter foe, and kings were killed by their own love of show. He said, I'm like the deer for whose musk scent hunters desire to catch and then torment. Those who would kill for secondary goals should know I'll take my vengeance on their souls. I'm now the victim, your turn's coming soon. Those hungry for my blood are not immune. A lengthy shadow though a wall can cast, that shadow will return to it at last. The world's a mountain, actions like a shout. Your echo will return to you. Watch out. These were his final words when he was slain. The slave girl now was purged of love and pain. Love of the dead is not a lasting love, because the dead don't come back from above. Love of the living in your soul and blood. Each moment makes you fresher than a bud. Save love for him, eternal and divine, the sake with the soul expanding wine. Choose love of him, from whose resplendent face the prophets find their mission and their grace. Although the healer's killing seems severe, be sure he didn't act through greed or fear, nor to placate the king's desire instead. Divine command decreed he should be dead. Think of the child whose jugular Kezer slit. Most people fail to see the good in it. For those in deep communion with their Lord, their every deed's correct, in full accord. He who gives life may kill, we must condone. His deputies act like his very own. Like Ismail, lay your neck before his blade, and smile for this brave sacrifice you've made, so that your soul will live on joyfully. With God, like Ahmad's soul, eternally, each lover drinks the wine of his own soul. When slain by his beloved, that's his goal. The king did not start scheming through desire. Now throw that false suspicion in the fire. You still think he committed sin, don't you? When God refines, no flaws can filter through. When Kezer destroyed that boat out in the sea, what seemed destructive was true piety. Moses stayed veiled, though he was wise and good. Don't jump without wings till you've understood. When children tremble near the barber's blade, their mothers smile with joy though they're afraid. For half a life he gives 100 more. Such gifts beyond your dreams he has in store. So stop comparing him with your low state. Reflect on this before it gets too late.